Hello friends, my name is Linda Dolke and I'm a demonstrator with Stampin' Up! In Australia, and today I wanted to show you how to use these awesome Ornate Border Dies. Okay, this is just one die that's in the set, and I think it just makes the most beautiful cards. And as you can see, today I'm using the colours, the in colours from the 2018 to 2020 group of colours, and these are going to be retiring really soon, so I thought I'd give them a run today. There are 5 colours in the set, so the only one that I haven't used is the lovely lipstick, which is the one I'm going to use right now. So let me move those out of the way. I've already got a card base ready to go here. This is just half a piece of cardstock cut in half horizontally and then folded in half again. And I have a piece, I'll put the measurements up on the screen for you. I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock and a piece of lovely lipstick cardstock, and as you can see, the Whisper White is slightly smaller on each side than the lovely lipstick. Okay. Now, the dies that I wanted to show you today are these ones. They're called Ornate Borders, and these are new. They're going to be in our next annual catalogue, and the one I'm using today is this one. This one cuts a border down the side and actually fully cuts one side and not on the other side, which is why we get these lovely edges. So you can see here that I've actually placed it. So it just sort of runs down the side here. It's perfectly cut this side, but as you can see, it hasn't cut so much on this side. And I need to stick that little bit down right there. That's all right, I'll do that later. So this is the one I'm using today. I've done some other cool things with some of the other borders as well, and I'll show you those another time. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be using on this piece of Whisper White cardstock, I'm going to be using this one, and I'm going to be putting it, so you can see there's like a little line here and a little line here that sticks out the edge here, and I'm going to put it so it's probably, this line is probably about, I don't know, nearly 2 centimeters or about 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've actually run this through. If you turn it over, you can see that the cut marks are showing through. And when I take away my die from the paper, you can see I've got this really lovely intricate design here, and I can gently pull this paper away and this whole piece comes out, and I've got this lovely edge that I'm left over with. Okay, now up to you whether you want to push out all these little pieces. For the purposes of these cards, I have pushed out the pieces. So the nice thing about these is that you can use these little pieces. They're like little branches, and you could use them for another card. So I've been saving them over here for another card that I might want to make a little bit later. So you can see the pieces come out complete, just like that. I'm pulling them out away from the rest of the design, just carefully with my fingers. Okay, now you could leave the petals in the daisies if you chose to. I'm actually not going to. I'm going to push them out. I've got my die brush here, but I didn't want to actually cut, I didn't want to push out all the little tiny circles. If you see, I've got some little circles, like a little circle in the middle of each of my daisies. I'm leaving those in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push out my little pieces of daisy here, the petals, and they go through quite easily with my take your pick tool. It's called Take Your Pick, and you can see there that it comes out nicely. There's also a little piece here that just pops out. I'm going to do that with each of my daisies, so I'll just speed up the camera so that it doesn't take quite so long. Okay, so you should be able to see I've got some little pieces out there. I've got some little dots I've left in, and the centers of the daisies, I've left those in as well. I'm just going to get rid of my little bits of paper here on the table. I'm now ready to glue this down, and it's going to go on my piece of lovely lipstick paper with that same border edge around that we had before, but because I've cut off this edge, I have this kind of extra piece here of the lovely lipstick cardstock. So how do you go about adhering this? There's a few things you can do. I'm actually going to go around all my edges with just snail adhesive, which is nice and easy. Now I could, if I wanted to very carefully, add little bits of snail here and there as well, but probably a little easier is the Tombow multi-purpose adhesive. I'm just going to make sure I've got some there on the end ready to go. And I'm just going to add a little bit of that, like the tiniest little bit. You don't want to add too much because then you'll end up with glue everywhere. And I'm just going to add a little bit sort of over the edges so that my edges will stick down and not sort of flop around. We don't want that. So I'm just going really, really gently. Another way you can do this, and I've done this previously as well, is put a little bit of this Tombow onto a little tiny bit of sponge like this and kind of smush it into the sponge, and then you can very, very carefully sort of run that sponge over your bits, and that's going to give it enough stick to make it stay in place. So I'm just going to put that so that I have the same amount of edge around here as I do around the same, so just on the three sides I've got just a small border, and then I've got my much bigger border here. Now see how I've got some little bits sticking up? Because those are sticky, before that multi-purpose glue dries, I can push that down, and now they're all stuck down. So it's nice and easy. So I'm going to be pairing this up with this Ornate Thanks stamp set. And I really, really like this one because it's got some great words. And what you might see what I've done here is I've used the So Grateful, this one here, and then I can mix it up with all these different little bits of words that complete the sentence. So I could have so grateful for everything, so grateful from the bottom of my heart for all your help from all of us. But the one I'm using today is the So Here's a Card, because I actually think that's pretty cool. So I'm going to use my lovely lipstick ink. Like I said, these colours are going to be leaving us at the end of next month, but I actually don't expect them to last that long, because what I find is that these colours tend to go pretty much as soon as the retired list comes out. They go really quickly. So I'm putting this down towards the bottom here, just like that. And I've got this So Here's a Card, and I'm going to just gently ink that up, and I'm going to put that just a little bit below like that. And then I've also got a little strip. Where did it go? Here it is. A strip of silver, and I'm just going to run a little bit of, you could use the multi-purpose glue again, or you can just use a little bit of snail to run along the edges of that. Go a little higher. So it's just underneath the word So Grateful. Then I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue to zip around the back so I can stick the whole thing onto the card base. How easy is this card? It's very, very cool. And I have to say, I really like the way all the different coloured cards look together when you put them next to each other. Of course, they won't be like that unless I was to make them up into a set to send to a friend. But don't they look cool? Look, I love them. I hope you enjoyed that. This is one way you can use the Ornate Border Dies, and a few little tips on how to use it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with more for you soon. Thanks guys, bye bye.